Next up, the CarBuyer Advisor, your first place to turn for everything automotive. Taking a stand for consumer education and dedicated to connecting you with the industry's finest automotive products, services, and advice. And now, please welcome the CarBuyer Advisor.
Now, we have introduced you to dozens of the finest automotive-related businesses that Northern Nevada has to offer. The best of each automotive segment, all striving to achieve perfection. Perfection is the standard we want you to look for from any business. You not only purchase their products and services, you also support them, but you're supporting as well the continuation of their business practices. To define perfection, the condition, state, or quality of being free or as free as possible from all flaws or defects. A person or thing perceived as the embodiment of such condition, state, or quality. Even among the industry's elite top businesses, few will actually meet this objective. Our next guest does bullseye, and not just bullseye, but bullseyes as to a marksman. In her field or any field, you cannot achieve finer qualities. She has handled my DMV documentation at multiple dealerships for more than a decade and a half, and she is not just remarkable at what she does, but equally a remarkable human being. We may never deliver a business more deserving of your support. And the good news is everyone listening has a need for her services. I'm truly delighted to introduce you to our next guest, Arlen Bryan, with Nevada Vehicle Title Service. Arlen, thank you so much for accepting our invitation to be a guest.
Thank you.
Now, I mentioned that you've been doing business for over a decade. We've been doing that together, but you've been doing it a lot longer than that. Without sharing how old you are or asking you that question, I know better. How long have you been doing DMV-related work?
More than 25 years in California and Nevada.
And all you have to do, Arlen, is say, go to the DMV. And I know right now a lot of our listeners just imagine an all-day affair, and the first time people find out you'll go for them, what type of reactions do you get?
People are astounded. Oh, my goodness, I don't have to go there? Thank goodness.
They just got to look at you like, really?
Really?
How fantastic. Now, let's take a minute and discuss the various DMV-related services that you can do for them.
Well, I can register their vehicle. I can title them. I can remove a lien from a paid-off loan. I can get them moving permits if the car won't smog. I can get them handicap plates. I can notarize documents to smooth the paperwork through. And
you said personalized plates, too?
Yes. I can order personalized plates, and I can get them fee estimates.
And when we first met, you were offering your services strictly to auto dealers. What made you decide to offer your services to the public?
Well, I was expecting my first grandchild, and I didn't want him to go to daycare until he could speak. So I started the business so that I would have flexibility to do both. I could earn a living and I could take care of my grandchild.
Now, recently I had the DMV Compliance Enforcement Officer on our show, and we were discussing how a consumer can avoid being the victim of title fraud when buying a car from a private party. And this is really, I want people to understand, it's not just the convenience factor of what you offer. So give them, our listeners, an examples of what additional service you offer to protect them when they engage your services.
Well, if you're buying a car from a private party, you have no way to know if the title they're providing you is the most current. And so we can run the record in both California and Nevada and find out what the record shows, whether there's still a lien in the record or whether someone has gotten a payday loan. And then this is not the most current.
Well, and see, this is, I think, what people see. They see the title, they've got the title, they give the money, they think, oh, this is safe. But there's still some issues around that, even having a title that looks valid in your hand. And about the only way we were talking about this earlier for somebody to really protect themselves other than using a service like yours would mean that they would have to go to the DMV. Because the DMV, if you take that title in and ask them to verify it because of privacy laws, if you aren't the person on that title, they won't talk to you about it, right?
That's correct.
So the only way then is that you have to both you and the consumer go at the same time. So if you're buying a car from somebody in California, you're here in Reno, Nevada, you both have to travel over, and then there's no guarantees that they're going to even cooperate at the counter there for you as well.
You have to have all of your ducks in a row. And if you've traveled any distance, you'll be pretty annoyed if they turn you away for a technicality.
Well, and especially since you can do this from your own home and keep them from having to do any of this, the gas, the time, the inconvenience, and like you said, if there's something wrong with their paperwork, they're going to get there and be turned back anyway. What states do you service?
Nevada and California.
So I want to elaborate a little bit more on this potential duplicate title issue that you were just alluding to. So describe for our listeners how the most common scams around those are. Like you said, mentioned payday loans. So describe how that even occurs.
Well, not all payday loan offices put their lien in the database at the DMV. They just write it on the title and keep it. And that person could go and apply for another title, a duplicate of that, and that would supersede that title.
And so could be two titles, both of them valid, but one supersedes the older one.
Right.
And if they're not giving you the most current one because they gave that to a payday loan center or took a loan on it, even at a bank, that they're giving you a outdated, replaced title, they can convince you to give them their money, and then it's buyer beware again.
Absolutely.
So again, when somebody calls you and says, look, I'm interested in buying this car and I've got a copy of the title and there's a title number on there, you can then compare that with the records?
Yes. The DMV, I have an account with them, and they allow me to check on the status of a title or registration.
Okay, so you can see if there's any existing liens. You can see if the title they have is the most current title or if there's been a title issued after that.
Right.
Can you run title verifications? I think I asked you this before, but in both states, California and Nevada?
Yes, I can do both.
Okay. Now, some of our listeners put their vehicles into a trust or a business name, and some of those can require signature verifications or notary services, and you offer those as well, too, right?
Yes, I do. I am a notary as well.
So if they have a more complicated title issue because the trust requires notarization and special documentation, you have all the forms, you have the notary. One of my favorite parts is how reasonable your services are. For the person even that earns minimum wage, if they have to take a day off of work to go to the DMV to register their car, it would have cost them less to have retained you. What do you charge to go register a car that we just bought?
I charge $25 unless it's the same day. And then it's $50.
So if somebody has, 30 days to register the car, they give you the paperwork. What do they need to give you so that you can do that?
Well, I'm going to need either their title or their dealer report of sale, their proof of Nevada insurance, money to register the car, and an authorization for me to transact for them.
And so then they give you the paperwork. They have, several weeks left to do this. It costs them $25. You go to the DMV and you do this for them, and they don't even have to go stand in line or do anything else. You bring them back their plate.
That's right. I pick up and deliver.
I was just going to get to that. The big question I'd have is, why would anyone still go to the DMV?
Well, the only time that I can't transact for you, it would be for a driver's license or a test or reinstating your license after a DUI. So short of a driver's license, I can do all of it.
Oh, and how often do you go to the DMV?
I'm there a minimum of 3 times a week.
How do you deal with the lines 3 times a week?
Well, I actually make an appointment with the DMV, and because I am licensed, they allow me to go to their title window, and I can bring you a same-day title or a same-day registration.
Well, we were talking about that earlier. So if somebody is buying a car from a private party, the very first thing you want to do is to get that title transferred into your name immediately so that they can't still go back after they've taken your money and go apply for a duplicate.
Right.
But the only way really to get those same day across the counter, most consumers, unless they get lucky, they go down to the DMV in Reno, they're not getting a same day title across the counter. But you can actually, with your appointment and your tie to the DMV, go down with their paperwork and get a title the same day.
Yes, it's completely different. Because of my relationship with the DMV and the appointment process, I can get that title today. Right now. So that as soon as you have that title in your name, in your possession, that's when your risk as a consumer really ends. Yes. So to have somebody be able to transact that promptly is a really big deal. I hope you don't mind. I want to share with our listeners a full picture of what you're capable of, because I'm sure there are people out there that have a vehicle or something that they've just gone, I don't even know how to take care of this issue. And your capabilities stem very deep. I want to share an experience that we had where an individual had a loan through a major federally insured bank, and that bank failed. He had then paid off the loan, and he had not taken the lien release and transferred the title into his name. And that bank then proceeded to fail and was assumed by the FDIC, and he lost the lien release that he was given. And now he had a title with a lien still on it because he hadn't changed it over. And
the process that you had to go through with the FDIC to get the lien release so that that individual could sell his car was just tell our listeners a little bit about what that can look like.
It was incredible. First I had to identify who had taken over the accounts for the bank that failed, and then I went to the FDIC and I asked them for assistance getting the lien release, and they said no, they couldn't give it to me because they had to have permission from the failed institution. And the people who took over the failed institution said, well, all of that was done before we took over, so I can't give you that. So it was back and forth for just ever. We did ultimately secure the lien release, but it was quite an ordeal.
Well, and so this brings up the next subject. A lot of people, they've just paid off their car, or when they pay it off, they get this certification from the bank. They get the paperwork back. There's note satisfied, and they get this piece of paper that goes with it, and they file it. And should they lose it, getting them is not always that easy, getting duplicate ones to get the title perfected in their name without a lien holder on it. Would you recommend then that people take that immediately and have you change it over and remove the lien holder from that title?
I absolutely would. People think that, their filing system is pretty good, or, but they might move, it might be misplaced, and then the bank may or may not have a record anymore, and, because there are so many mergers in banking.
Well, that's the same thing as a bank failure. Mm-hmm. Trying to find the location of the documentation and somebody that's willing to give you the proof that you need to get that lien released is not so easy to track down later. So the best advice you'd give is take the title right now, get the lien removed from it, and all they have to do is call you. I think what's interesting is, and I want everyone to understand how easy you make it for them. Where do they go to have you do this?
I'll come to them. I can go to your office. I can go to your home. You can leave it for me at a dealership if you bought it from one, and tell me where it's going to be, and I'll pick it up.
So for the person that just bought a car, mm-hmm. They're at their office, they've got the paperwork on their desk, they're just dreading the idea and concept of going to register their car. They can pick up the phone, they can call you. You'll go to their office, but they're off tomorrow, and when you come back from the DMV with their plates, you go to their house and deliver their plates to their house.
That's right.
Wherever they are, you go to them for $25.
Yes.
And I just can't imagine anyone wanting to go to the DMV with a service like yours. And Arlen, I want to also go on record and share with our listeners that knowing that we had referred you and used you that way with a lot of our clients, and there are a lot of dealers in town that will call you to do that, and they can leave the paperwork at the dealership. So ask your dealer if they deal with Arlen Bryan with Nevada Vehicle Title Services, and ask them if you can pay to have somebody else register it for you so you don't have to go. And if not, how do they get hold of you?
Well, you can call me at 775-338-2648. You can send me an email at service@NevadaVehicleTitleService.com. I have a fax number of 775-851-1799.
And you have a website as well?
I do. It's www.NevadaVehicleTitleService.com.
Now, Arlen, I want to thank you so much, because I told you before what an honor it is to be the platform to introduce your services to our community. You are why we exist as an enterprise. I can't explain how thrilled I am having you on our show. Arlen Bryan, Nevada Vehicle Title Service. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you very much.